I'd like to call tonight's Board of Commissioners Workshop meeting to order. If you could please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're gonna start off with item number 4, review of Quarry Park Playground upgrade. Kylene and Denise, it's all yours.
Yeah, commissioners, thank you. Before they jump in, I just wanted to give some background. We have been working through our playground replacement program, as everyone's aware, and the public as well. We've started this year on the Spring Ridge Park Playground that should be nearing completion in the next several weeks. We also have the Farmington Playground, which will begin to be in process here probably early next week after the holiday. And that should wrap up hopefully by the beginning of October. But as part of this plan, we wanted to get in front of the board early as we work through the budget and what we're looking at. So we would be prepared for those discussions when it came time to recreation and those other departments. So had Kylene and Denise kind of show you what we're working on for Quarry Park. This is, I'll let them get into it, but our Quarry Park facility had some structures that were deficient. We had to remove them. So at this point, we're down a partial playground there. So we had those issues with a potential replacement. They've been working to get to the point where we are now. So we just wanted to put the concept out, show everybody some thoughts on what we're working on, take any kind of feedback, and then we'll have it for budget time. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for having us tonight. We're very excited to present Quarry to you. I guess the most important part about Quarry, as we're looking at some of these slides, is this is an original. No one in the country has this playground. It stemmed actually from a concept that Bruce found online, and we've designed it into 3 separate play areas. You'll see the swing set, which is where the current swing set is right now, the large dome, and then the mini monster dome. So there's a 2 to 5 play structure and a 5 to 12 structure as well.
Am I on? Okay. Also included in the structure is a seating area in the middle. So this is taking up a little more space in the existing playground that is there. But it's a very nice layout, you know, and should be well used. It's a very heavily used park.
Yeah, one of the other items we want to be mindful of is if the board, when we get to budget time, wants to move forward with that and the allotment, if we can get an order in by the end of the year, we'll get it in before there's a price adjustment. So it's actually better for us to get moving in that process. We've been working for approximately 3.5, 4 months on the design that we've provided. You'll see the equipment and the pour and play surface that's underneath. We see on a budget that we're going to project for next year at $629,000. There are some potential pathway connections for ADA compliance to get out of the parking lot and then up to the existing pavilion structure. This site is basically, as Denise and Kylene said, where the existing components are now, a little bit bigger, but connects those areas with the pathway heads. So there is some concrete now in the middle of that design. The pour and play areas are what you see closest to those structures. So just want to put everybody's thoughts, put our design out there, and then we can talk about it more in the future, but wanted to make sure we were headed down the right path.
Are there any commissioner questions? Commissioner Robert.
Okay, first question is, is this really the most important one of all the play structures that we had?
It is, as that's one of our heavily traveled parks, and currently we had to take the other one down, so there isn't anything for the 512 side at that component. So that's why it moved up on the priority list. We are looking at the next four parks over the 5-year period here, this being the first one. We've also started to meet about East Texas, and we're working to on that component and structure and some concept plans for where we are on there. And then looking at the next priorities with facilities to see where we are potentially deficient, where we aren't going to be able to get parts, et cetera. So we are prioritizing. This one is at the top just because it's a fairly busy, larger park, not a neighborhood park, but that's why this went to the top of the list.
Well, last year during the budget cycle, one of the things that came up is where the soccer fields are.
Well,
That-
sure.
That park does not have a play structure. And it would seem with all of the other kids coming to accompany the kids that are playing soccer, it would be a good place to put one in, and we'd like to get that fairly high on the priority. Vertical.
Yeah, so Wild Cherry is scheduled for 2026 right now at this point in time.
And I think Maury's referring to Creamery.
Creamery.
Oh, Creamery.
Yeah.
So Creamery only has the fitness equipment at the park. So if that is indeed a park that we would want to move forward with a playground structure, we would need to put that on our long-term plan.
I would like it to be on. Sorry about that.
Okay, any other questions, Commissioner? Two questions for me. So just looking at the bigger picture there, I'm assuming the blue sections are the softer and the rest is concrete, correct? And then second to that is, are we also doing the curbing that we're doing on the other two that we're currently installing?
Yes, the curbing is included in this price.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Any public comments or questions? Oh, I already said it, Julie. You weren't listening. Denise Falk, Eileen, and I don't know your last
Gil,
name. Eileen Gill, both from our recreation department.
And the overall price tag is $650.
Yeah, like 629, excluding the
curbing.
connection points, not the curbing, but the actual pathway for ADA compliance out of the parking lot to get to this point.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anything else from rec that you need, or any updates on while they're here?
I mean, if you would like to talk about the current installations, I know I've seen Spring Ridge Crossings, and I saw that they've moved equipment over to Farmington. I know you said that's going to start soon, Bruce, but an update would be helpful.
sure. So Farmington, we are planning on doing the ADA pathways. So you will see them excavating this week and taking the pathways to the sidewalks over at Farmington. We're awaiting a start date from Compton. But you will see Spring Ridge come to a point this week that they can't move any further, and they'll move over to Farmington. So hopefully next week, like Bruce said earlier, will be the start date for Farmington. They're moving from Spring Ridge to Farmington.
Bruce, one thing, and this kind of came up, I guess, conversation you and I had, but as we look at East Texas for a playground replacement, we should look at a couple of the other items there to maybe get done at the same time. I know there's some issues with the infield of the large ball field and the overall condition of the smaller ball field. Maybe we can make it a more comprehensive look at that park to make sure that everything is operational as possible.
Yeah, and I think will have to, look at all those features and come back with something. I know there's, now issues that we've heard about the baseball field, the infield on that main field. So, that's gotta be something we look at and, push forward. And I think we'll be all right in that long-term plan, on where we are. And the other areas, it's probably gonna be a recommendation that tennis court comes out at that location just because of we had talked previously, at a prior workshop about all the root intrusion and everything else from those trees along the golf course that are actually lifting that surface. And it's, even after it's been redone, that isn't an ideal condition there. So we don't think that that's the best location for tennis, at this point. But we know we need the ADA compliance at some point to the restrooms there in that structure. One of the discussions about, park things and, accessory type, areas, we're wondering if, Spring Ridge, if there might be a fairly, large amount of people that are now traveling to that as more of a destination, park with the playground. And we have on our radar, again, we had talked about it probably 2 years ago with the board, to look at storage slash, restrooms at the top of the parking lot. That was one of the things in our long-term plan. It's kind of maybe moved a little bit further up as well. So. And we can give an update on Wild Cherry Park if you haven't been out there lately. The tennis courts are currently closed. They'll be working to pave those this week. Also, the gravel pathway that went around the park, the little walking path, that's being prepared as well. So that will be paved earlier or later this week as well to try to round that out. We're probably about 3 weeks from completion over there, maybe 4, and we should be all done with basically a brand new tennis facility and all the connectivity with that. So if you haven't been out there, it's looking good, and we're on schedule and on budget.
And I'm assuming the pool closes after Monday? Or does it stay open past Monday?
Yeah, pool's closed this week. We'll be open for the weekend, the long weekend, and then we'll be done and buttoning that up as well.
Okay.
And, okay, for the budget for next year, what's happening with West Coastville as far as the rec hall / replacement with concession stand and so forth?
Yeah, we'll work on that plan. We haven't really, with all these other ones, we haven't really kind of sprung into that one yet. We have found a company for prefab structures. So, as we just kind of got into it with that, situation to see if that'd be a viable option. So we'll continue to explore that part of it. We know West Coastville is slated, next year for, tennis court, rehab repair. So there'll be a little bit of patchwork, and then, painting and overlaying of that as well as fencing. So, that park's definitely on our list, just not, to the extent yet where we're comfortable with a building facility there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies. Okay, item 2, review contract with Portnoy for debt collection services. 2.1 draft ordinance adding fees to collection amounts of delinquent accounts.
Thank you. So, finance team had started to look at potential discussions with various collectors of outstanding sewer and trash fees as part of that investigation. And after conferring with our neighbors, we sat down with a company called Portnoy. They are a law firm that basically specializes in the collection of delinquent areas to include multiple things like streetlights, taxes, and of course the sewer and trash invoicing. So right now the township has a collection company. They basically, when you don't pay, we issue notices. We turn you over to the debt collection company. They phone call you, make multiple attempts, and then at some point, if you fail to pay, you get your water shut off. So what we wanted to do, we thought the Portnoy opportunity gave us a little bit more flexibility in the professionalism with how we work through the collection of that debt. And just to give you some background, it would be a validation notice on your account, then a delinquent claim. So they would send you a notice, they would send you another notice. They would look at $25 per notice for that first one, $40 for the notice of a delinquent claim. And that they have to do that by law. They send another legal demand letter. And at that point, it's $175 for that fee. They issue a lien if we get that far. There's a legal fee assessed with that of $250. Then they issue another writ against the property owner. So all of these steps that they continue, they ask for a judgment. They look for the legal fee on the judgment, and then they look for a sheriff's sale. So it's a multiple phase process compared to what we're currently doing. And basically, it gives the opportunity for them to collect at any point through that process to deal directly with the customer in a, like I said, a professional way, where you're getting these correspondence, you're answering the correspondence, and they understand the laws applicable to the collection of this municipal debt. We have, like I said, called our neighbors. We've talked to them. They've seen results, a little bit different than what everybody's normally used to, but definitely good reviews. There are a couple pieces with this. If we would consider, and the board would be willing, we would recommend to look at Portnoy for the delinquent sewer and trash. They also offer that opportunity for, that would be the first kind of consideration for them. There would be fees associated with that. We would need to amend our ordinance for the collection of those delinquent amounts. The second part we would want to consider is they're also able to collect the delinquent property tax. Currently, the county collects the delinquent property tax. The board would need to consider a resolution directing the county to let us collect our own delinquent property tax. As you may or may not be aware, property tax really only generates about $1.3 million. There's another 10 to 20,000 in delinquent behind payments. So we're not talking a huge amount with that, but that would give us some consistency with two platforms. There's also the ability to have them collect that streetlight delinquent, which would be helpful. And then if we have any code enforcement type violations and we have to remediate those, we have the ability to have them enforce and collect those monies that we provided for that property maintenance type items. So that's why there's a couple different items. There is a contract for this service, which we would have for review and has been circulated to legal. Legal is working through where they are. We just actually got the updated contract this evening with comments and feedback. So I think we're actually in a good place with that. So we would recommend that the board consider making this choice and changing providers.
Commissioner Robert.
Okay, as far as actually how much we're spending now on collection, how much do we spend and how much do we take in on a yearly basis? And also, what's the projected costs for going forward with this new option? And what is the projected amount that we would take in then?
So I'll confirm those numbers and I will get them. I don't want to misspeak, but I would say the collection company assesses those fees for the collection of the debt. So I'll make sure I have the appropriate percentage, but that goes right to the customer, not the township side, which is why they are moving forward aggressively to make sure they collect once they go to collections.
Okay, so we don't get stuck with the fee if they don't collect?
That's correct. That's correct. At some point, they will make sure that they continue to get payment,
I
as
thought-
I understand it, but I will confirm it.
I thought in some of the verbiage I ran through that we would be on the hook up front and then would be reimbursed when they collect
With the current or with the new
with
proposal?
the new.
Yeah, so with the new one, so I'm talking current, now to the new, there is a potential cost of that $40 delinquent claim filing, the first one where they have to do that component of the law. So they continue to add that into their fee structure, but there is an opportunity that we would have to pay that first upfront $40 for that
But,
fee.
but that's the only one.
That's correct. Yeah. So what they do is keep adding all of these additional fees onto each time they reach out and there's a fee, they continue to put those on the overall owed amount. So if unfortunately your house gets sheriff saled after the 9th step, that gets reimbursed.
Okay, and so the how I'm still trying to wrestle with how much are we spending now and what are we getting in?
And I'll pull those numbers. I would say, besides staff time, our debt collector is the one incurring those costs that they put on top of the ratepayer. I think there's on our aging list, we're around 300,000 in aging accounts. And now those are to get that far, you're past, I think it's 90 days. So, you've been a while to get to that point. So till we actually turn you over to collections. So I would say that there's not a cost for that part, if that makes sense, where they're charging us each account and we have to pay them to go collect. They collect and hope that they're getting the percentage of fees recouped. Because right away they put on a collection fee
Okay,
that goes to them. And which is why when people get to the delinquent stage where we have to go to collections, we don't accept their payment here anymore. We say, I'm sorry, we can't take your payment here. You have to go contact our collector because you're going to have to pay their component of the collection fee at that point. We work with people until they get to that point. Payment plans, however we can.
Commissioner Brightler.
Does Lehigh County charge us
Uh,
collect delinquent?
I'd have to ask them. I don't think they do.
What's that?
I don't think they do. I'd have to ask them. I don't think they do.
So the one question I have is, and it builds off of Commissioner Roberts, is if we don't pay anything right now, why do we switch to somebody where we would potentially have to pay $40 up front and get it recouped at some point versus like, what's the benefit of a new place versus what we have right now?
Well, currently I can only shut your water off. With the new place, I can sheriff sell your house and make sure that your judgment is paid in full. So basically where we are, if you don't have water service, you just have sewer service, you can age your account out because I get to the point where I turn you into collections and they just keep adding fees. If you owe 10 or 15 or $20,000, it doesn't matter because it's in collections. They call you and you say, I'm not going to pay it. Whereas if we go down this process, it's a full legal process where, there is a result at some point.
So I think what's important to note, we're changing processes to make sure that we are more successful in recouping what is owed because the process is slightly more painful for those who owe the money.
That's correct.
And I will say, this has been something we've done for as long as I've been on the board. I'm pretty sure when we started, we were somewhere north of $1 million owed to us. We've gotten it down to $300,000, and we always kind of had the impression that it would kind of stabilize around there just based on whether it's repeat offenders or new offenders. So at least it's held steady. It hasn't grown again, but it was at one point very much out of it.
Yeah. And we do, and I have to look, I haven't looked since the last time we brought this before the board, which was probably 3 or 4 years ago. We did have a heavy hitter list of, 10 to 15 individuals that owed us, a third of that outstanding amount. So this definitely gives us a good tool.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay, seeing none, moving forward. Item number 3, review resolution and plan for the LCA parking lot expansion.
I got it.
Okay, Brian?
Good evening. What is up for discussion is the LCA parking lot. It's a existing area on the LCA site just down the road. They're going to be installing 28 new parking spaces. My understanding is that they're overparked right now and or underparked for that matter. Sorry. And apparently they've been using this area to park cars because they need to. So they're going to make it a little more official. And basically what they're doing, putting in the parking spaces, and they're over the 10,000 square foot threshold for new impervious surface. So the design also includes a stormwater management system. It's basically a seepage bed. They're connecting the discharge to an existing inlet on the site. There were no overall changes to what the community at large will see in terms of stormwater. They are proposing a fair amount of landscaping. The project is minor enough that staff decided that it was worthy of the administrative review process, and accordingly, that's how it's going through. Solicitor Bruman has put together a draft resolution for it. Extremely straightforward. We have a review letter from August 14th. Vince has a review from August 5th. Extremely minor items to address that remain, but all in all, very, very straightforward little project.
Okay. But is this yours? Are you here for this? Oh, you're not? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I saw you there. I just assumed that this was yours. Anything from the board? Anything from the public? Oh, Commissioner Robert, I'm sorry.
Okay. One thing I noticed was that, yeah, there are buffers provided on the two street sides, I guess, but as far as there's not one provided between the dental office and the parking lot. And I know we did make some modifications to the West Coastville commercial zone to allow not having buffers between a parking lot and a parking lot. But this really isn't between a parking lot and a parking lot. It's between the back of the dental office, but where there's grass and so forth, as opposed to a parking lot.
Do you mean to the plan left? Yeah, where the
Yeah,
cursor is.
on the left
There?
side there, yeah.
Yeah, there's a significant amount of existing plantings that are in that area, if I recall.
Uh,
I mean, I'll double check the ordinance, but I did look over that, commercial to commercial.
Yeah, come
Sorry.
closer.
Commercial to commercial.
Yeah.
I'll double check on that, but I think,
Well, so,
didn't
yeah, I
require-
mean, it's a question of either should we correct it in the look back ordinance or, should there be some kind of if there is not adequate buffering on the other side, for instance, where the propane tank is, should there be some supplemental buffering on that side because of the headlights shining directly at the building and stuff like that? So that's one item. Another is, I didn't see any light standards for, and all of the parking lots of that size should have lights. Is that correct?
That's correct, and they did submit a lighting and a photometric plan.
They do have lighting.
So I think this was just a revision, Renee? It was a one plan sheet that they sent?
Okay, yeah, there
No.
were 7
Oh, there was
sheets in this.
7 sheets on there? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a photometric plan. They meet all the requirements.
And they're And the lights are 25 feet or less and
Yep, correct.
dark sky and all that stuff.
Yep.
Okay, and then Vince, in your letter, there were several places where you had indicated waive. And I have never seen a waiver associated with the zoning ordinance.
So I would have to reword that. Correct.
So a variance would be required.
So they, yeah, they were gonna comply, but I would have to change my wording in the future.
That, yeah, well, okay, one of the things that was the parking space size, that it was it was left as 9 feet rather than the 9.5 feet, and the 9.5 feet even requires that there be double striping associated with the parking spaces, or otherwise it would be a 10-foot requirement. But there were other waivers as well. I didn't see the specific chapter and verse associated with what they would be waived, or that a variance would be required, but it seems like that would need to be straightened out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. Thank you, Commissioner Robert. And I will definitely not use that wording.
Huh?
I won't use that wording further. I see your point.
No.
Okay. Commissioner Butler, any questions?
None.
Any questions from the public? Okay, before we move on, Bud, I don't see anything else on here, so I don't want to have you sit there all night. Are you here for something specific or? Why don't you come up and we'll take care of that now so you don't have to spend the rest of the night just listening to us.
Thank you for that, Mr. Higgins. My name is Frank Diamore. I'm an attorney from Fitzpatrick, Lens and Buba. I'm also a resident of the township. So I represent Raja and Sohail. But do you want to give us, I understand that no one's going to be responding, so I'm just going to keep talking. I represent Raja and Saima Abbasi. They live at 773 Furnace Drive. It's in the hills at Lock Ridge Overlay. I'd like to hand up, Mr. Berman, if it's okay. Just
Why don't you give,
Frank, and we talked before, set the ground rules. Of course, you've got a case in front of the zoning hearing board. I think that case is going tomorrow.
just 1 second before you hand it out, give it all to the solicitor so that he can decide what is.
Anyway, that's in front of the board tomorrow. So it wouldn't be appropriate for any commissioner and any staff member to say anything. You're free, to make your pitch to the commissioners, but it's with the warning that they can't do anything about it. It's a zoning hearing board matter, and hopefully you'll get a decision tomorrow night.
understood. So what's in front of you after Mr. Berman takes a looks at it and says it's okay, is just plot plan. It's just showing you in a highlighted area that even though this property is supposedly in the records 3/4 of an acre, what's highlighted is the buildable. It's various easement setbacks, et cetera, that are a result of the hills at Lock Ridge overlay, drainage easements, things like that. The only reason I point that out is just to understand that it's a very tough property for them to develop. They did develop it without permits. They say mea culpa. And what they're proposing now, understanding the error of their ways, is to come into compliance to the best that they can. To do that, Mr. Tranguch issued a revised zoning letter on February 27th of this year, stating certain violations. There was a fence in the front yard, 25-foot front yard setback. Well, they proposed to make it 4 feet and to remove the chain, which would be compliant with the ordinance. There was a play structure in the 25-yard setback. Well, they're going to move that back to make it compliant. They're even going to saw cut what is referred to in this letter as a concrete activity to make it less compliant. For that, we would have to amend our zoning application. The biggest issue where we might need some understanding from the township is that there's a gazebo and there is a patio in the backyard. That is within a 40-foot drainage. To cure that problem, to come in compliance, there's nothing for them to do except to rip it up. And it was a significant expenditure. And Mr. Newton can talk a little bit more, but we believe that we could meet the purposes of the ordinance. We believe that we could maybe replace the easement with something better, but to do that, we would need a little bit of cooperation. We would need a little bit of time, and it would be a significant cost, engineering and just site work, see if it's even feasible. Mr. Newton can talk a little bit more about what that plan is.
Yeah, and, but this isn't to be disrespectful. This is way beyond where we are right now with this. This is a zoning enforcement proceeding. I don't need to hear plans. It really doesn't matter to us at this point. We can't comment on it. We can't do anything about it. It has to go through the process.
Right, but you are a party, right? You are a party.
But this is not the proceeding to do it.
Well, I understand.
If I could, Brian, I wasn't part of the testimony in front of the zoning hearing board, but I sat through that meeting for about 2 hours. I got the opinion from the zoning hearing board, and I've been in front of that zoning hearing board, numerous times over the past 30 years, that they're looking for some kind of compromise to be
Right.
reached between the township and
And
the
I'm gonna be
applicant. And I think there's an opportunity.
I want to be as
for
clear as possible.
compromise.
We are not giving any direction to this. It's an enforcement proceeding before the zoning hearing board. They will rule. When that is over, we'll take the next steps, but this is not the place to discuss this right now.
Okay.
Even if they said we want more clarification, we're not giving them any. This is their job to decide. There's a violation notice. There's a proceeding that is currently undertaken. They have to make a decision. That's what they're there for. That's the way the process works. When that's over, we go to the next step. And that's as simple as it is. We're not going to entertain negotiations or compromises at this point. It's just, we're not there. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to save you some time. And I understand what you're trying to do, and that's fine, but we can't entertain that right now.
Yeah,
If that's
I
the
didn't want to get involved unless I knew there was some room for compromise or negotiations. And, that's why Dave Frank asked if I'd come along tonight to discuss what is possible if there was some room for negotiations.
Right now, the only thing that's possible is for the zoning hearing board to rule on the violation.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, we also have variance requests pending that you could opine on. But though I disagree with your position, I respect it. If we have to file an appeal,
Mhm.
We will discuss.
Absolutely. And
Understood, sir.
Like I said, I want to make sure this is all done the right way.
I understood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking us early.
Thanks, bud.
Hate to wait 2 hours and then find out that.
Understand. Okay, item number 5, review updated liquid fuels map.
Thank you. As part of our ongoing process, we wanted to look at the liquid fuels map. We wanted to update the additional Sauerkraut Lane portion as well as the Compost Center roadway. So just to give a little background, the township, when it receives its liquid fuels allotments, it's based on the liquid fuels map provided to PennDOT, and it uses road mileages plus various other formulas, population, road-based miles, and then fees collected from the state's process to break down what our allotment is. Having the map and updating it allows us to get our approximate per mile dollar value from the state. So you may ask Sauerkraut Lane and the Compost Center. We adopted those previously. Why do we have to update the map now? Just a couple of things. We provided all of the acceptance documents to PennDOT. PennDOT is allowing us to spend liquid fuels dollars on it because the roadway is accepted. However, until you look to update the map, you don't receive the extra mileage-based contribution from the state for those. So technically, it's on our road docket. It's accepted by PennDOT on the road docket. We could keep it on there for years, never update the mileage. So basically, the map updates the mileage for the calculation. So this would be consideration to add those component stretches, and then it'll be on there, and we can move forward. So basically, what the process is for.
Okay, any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Very good. Item number 6, review resolution requesting grant funds for emergency services equipment and designating signers.
Yeah, so previously we worked with the Macungie Ambulance Service to look at the state's gambling local share account grant. We were successful. Our last application period, I think, was in 2022. This is a new round. So we've worked with the ambulance service to complete an application that would be pending the board's consideration for this money for equipment. It is $27,746.32. As a local municipality, as I understand it, we have to apply for this local share gaming dollar, and then we work through the grant program with Macungie Ambulance. So as we did last time, we got the grant award. They did the purchasing. We paid the bills. That equipment is there. We would be looking to do the same thing with this one. So it's due the end of September. That's why it's before you now to potentially go on a board meeting. We've also, Chris at Macungie Ambulance has reached out to the state representative and senator's office to see if there would be any support for these applications. And we're hopeful and expectant of some letters for that application. So this authorizes me to execute all the documents, be the signatory for the township, and keep the process moving. So we thought it's a good idea. We're recommending the board approve that.
Okay. Questions from the board? Very good. Thank you. Item number 7, review ordinance amending chapter 20 solid wastes.
So as we've been working through the solid waste transition, we've asked the solicitor's office to look at a couple of revisions for the solid waste chapter 20, mainly the containers that have to be used. So right now, we don't specify a container. This ordinance update would specify the cart provided, as well as say you must use that cart and take the service. The other item that we've been working through as a staff is that general storage item. So we propose that you provide at all times, the ability to have that screened from the street, which is a little bit different. Now it says you can't have them in front yards and things of that nature. We wanted to make sure that we give that opportunity for these slightly larger carts that they can be kind of buffered in that way. I get that, Vince?
Yep.
That's what we talked about. All right. So that's what we have at this point. We're looking and legal, sorry not to cut you off, Maury. Legal and I are looking at doing a more comprehensive update to the solid waste ordinance probably early next year to make sure that we have certain things in there that maybe expound more on the regulations from the state and the requirements. So.
Yes, Commissioner Robert.
Okay, is there any kind of a waiver from the hiding from the street for townhouses? How are we gonna be continuously fighting the townhouse owners on this?
There is no waiver for the townhouses. We may be continually fighting. That's where we wanted to have the opportunity to just offer that type of screening or in a way not see that from that side. So we think except for, Hills of Lockridge and Shepherd Hills, our other townhouse communities have garages. So it would be appropriate to store them there. So, but I'll let Vince comment, where we are on it.
Yeah, I think, subjectively, we kind of looked at it and said we wanted to look at how this is going to operate a little for a while before we, go hard right onto it.
Yeah.
Instead of, we looked at how could we call out different housing plans, not others. So, we kind of felt this was good wording for right now. We're going to revisit this once, everyone has their, containers and, see what we can do as far as, utilizing what we put in writing.
By the way, Ancient Oaks West was another one that Mike
Oaks,
happened
yeah.
to bring up.
There you go.
I'll just add that, look at this as an emergent amendment, and I'm gonna take a look and sit down with Bruce to go over a rewrite, basically. So much has changed in the solid waste industry. It deserves a rewrite. Frankly, it'll be a shorter ordinance, based on what you need to cover. But the most important thing is to pass this and get it, and to basically be consistent with our new contract.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions from the board?
I just
Yes,
wanted-
Commissioner Beitler.
You had mentioned that this ordinance will include that the residents must take this road.
Correct.
So does that mean in the past they didn't have to?
No, they did. There's one resident that feels that's not what the language says. I disagree. I feel that's exactly what the language says. But having said that, Bruce would feel a whole lot better if I revised it to make it abundantly clear they may not take their waste anywhere else except Waste Management through our contract.
Because I do know from living here a long time, in the past, like snowbirds or vacant homes, they did not have to take trash service. And I was approached today, and Bruce is probably familiar with it. They were in the office this week. An individual's mother just passed. He has a vacant house. He was told, vacant, not vacant, as long as that house is standing, he has to pay trash service. Sure, I don't know if I talked to you or but I know in the past, vacant homes did not have to take trash service.
In the
And especially in this individual setting, lost his pop a few years ago, and his mom, this has just happened within the last week. Lost his mother. House is empty. It'll probably stay in. Or it's sold or maybe even tore down.
So we did look at that in the past, and for the last 15 years, I know that we did not allow that. One of the other previous commissioners, he used to rent homes, and he had the same thing where he felt when there wasn't a tenant, he didn't feel that he should have to pay it. But the more that we looked into it, that it almost would be an administrative nightmare to see when is it vacant, when is it occupied, and you could be in between tenants, you could be in between homeowners.
It's just that we did allow
Not since I'm here, but
it.
maybe before that.
In the 90s, we allowed.
Okay.
Well, I talked to this individual tonight. Again, you probably know who it is. It's here. So I would ask the question, and he provided evidence. In the 90s. It goes back to the ruling from this board. Let Commissioner Higgins look at this. You can pass it down to the solicitor. I just feel bad for this.
Sure.
Told him, and he even said to me, "Don't get yourself in trouble." I said, "I won't." Can do is,
Oh, you're in trouble now. No, just,
but
maybe, Bruce, we could take this offline and just discuss it. And the
Yeah,
only thing I'll say
definitely.
is, unfortunately, things do change in time, over time. Ordinances change, things are updated and reviewed. But,
just he had
between-
this
yeah.
documentation saying.
right. Well, but it was a fact in 1996. It's not necessarily a fact in 2024. So
Right.
that's the hard
I
part.
just feel sorry.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I do as well.
Well, and I think that's a good segue into the next part unless
Yes.
there's questions about that side. You know, and these topics are coming up. So we have been working to look at them as a staff and just an update on where we are with the solid waste and the public outreach. I think it's going to be important and informative that we continue to give those at every public meeting now until we work through our transition process, because we've seen about 200 complaints or concerns, or actually positive feedback items that have come through the township. We're keeping track of those to this point as we take calls, but just want to make sure that the public is informed as well as the board. And those complaints, concerns have gone all the way around from too large of a container, issues with screening in the townhouse sides, to positive comments that people are happy that the service level stayed where it was and that they were able to keep WM or waste management. But at this point, carts are going out this week. Residents may or may not have gotten our mailer and the WM mailer that they've put out. You should be getting those in your mailbox. The carts should be out by the end of this week. They're staging them here at the township building, and they'll be distributed. We've asked residents, just to patiently see if when they get the cart, that's enough for their garbage service. We really didn't want to engage them in. We've had a lot of individuals that have come to the township and asked for another cart already to buy one. We've explained, wait till we get the carts. We'll see how we're transitioning. And then once we get some carts in stock, if that's not meeting your needs, by all means, we'll get you another cart, but then you're going to have to be paying that extra cart charge. So we are hearing that component. What's going to happen is in September, after the holiday week, probably residents may notice if they're not containing everything to the cart, if they have things outside, they're going to get a warning, not a warning notice, but a notice from the garbage hauler that says, hey, in the future, make sure this is in the cart. We're transitioning. And then probably in the beginning of October, sometime in the first or second week, they're not going to collect those items that aren't in the cart. They'll leave another tag. So we know that residents might be sure or unsure of what the process is going to be, but that is where we are going. The contract says that everything has to be in September 1st. So that's what we're pushing for, and we're communicating to residents. But at some point, we may see individuals at our meetings when we stop picking up their trash in the transition. So we're hopeful that everybody will understand the process and move forward with it. So
I do know that I received communication from Waste Management today, explaining everything very simply. Obviously, there'll be people who don't see everything, but the amount of communication about the process and how it works has been, I think, exorbitant at this point. But you're always gonna have somebody that doesn't understand or has an issue, and I think it's important that they continue to come to us with those concerns.
well, and I think there's a lot of confusion about and why we wanted to have these discussions for the last 9 months. To the point of understanding that we bid garbage as a whole community. That residents not in private communities, you must take the garbage service where those things are. And we've had some confusion about we've never heard anything in public. We don't know why I have to take this service. I should be able to get my own hauler. And when you talk to people that have had this struggle with their own hauler or other communities, I actually was discussing with the manager of a municipality that doesn't have it through their community. They have, random trash trucks every day coming through neighborhoods. One of their providers actually went out of business. So it was to the point where they didn't know what they were going to do with residents' garbage, where they thought may have to bring a dumpster to the township building. All of these things that, service providers don't want to serve individual residents. Pricing is more than what we were able to get. So I think understanding the garbage business and what it's transitioned into and having these discussions is helpful on that side of it. So, but that's where we are. We'll continue to keep the board updated. We're hopeful with the transition, everything will be fairly smooth, but we'll address any bumps as they come forward. One of the not big concerns, but in the A2 is the Yard Waste Center. We're receiving feedback that people shouldn't be charged to go there. They pay a property tax. It should support the center in its entirety. For that information side, that was always supported by the fees. Two things: fees that we collected on your garbage bill, as well as state grant funding. We already know the state grant funding. It's been identified that's usually does equipment. We've gotten some toters, things of that nature, but we've already identified that 10% of our performance grant funding just across the board for the state will be cut next year. So we'll see that variance, as well as helping the residents to understand it's a $320,000 a year operation for that before we put several $1,000,000 worth of capital equipment into it. So there is a cost. We see 50,000 trips a year that generate to that site, and we are spending significant time and labor to process that. So
Bruce, what's the overall number that we need to cover the cost there, like in terms of a full budget line item number?
yeah, so we need to cover like 320,000. So that's why we had talked about a little more aggressive fees. We've been talking as a staff since our last meeting. Thought Maury had a really good idea about the sliding scale for less trips or more, may only need 10. We've thought that that's a really good idea. We're looking to kind of wrangle how we can implement that side of it. But yeah, that's why that's 75. It's actually, if you looked at our 6,000 permits over that 320,000, it's a significant cost to cover that. But we also said, well, some people, once they have to pay for it, we might lose 2,000 or 3,000 people. So we figured an average to cover that cost, and because we don't know.
And how much cost savings would we have if we moved the collection center to the compost center?
Yeah, so up front, we have that loser where we have to build out that site a little bit. And those costs aren't part of the permit process. So we would have to be mindful of that. But yeah, we would save a significant. So usually Mondays, we spend a day hauling grass and materials with at least one individual, if not two. So you're running tandem trips from over here to the Yard Waste Center every Monday. So just in labor and time to get it to that other site is going to be helpful, where residents can drop off directly there. However, we have no facilities for our attendants. We have no restrooms. There's a lot of things that we would need to do to kind of get that site up. And it is in our plan. It is advantageous to get it out there as soon as we can. So, but that's some updates on yard waste, the solid waste public outreach. We're going to try to have that set for the yard waste permitting at the next workshop, just to make sure we can get that notice out for people visiting us in the fall that there's going to be a change in the permit process. So that's my time frame there. All right.
Yes, Commissioner Butler.
One more comment on the topic I was talking about. After the meeting, I'd like to give you this man's name and number, and Bruce or Chris you talk to him. Sure. We sit here and never do enough.
Mhm.
So I think I did what I could do.
Oh, good. We can, we'll take care of it.
Because that letter, pass it down, give it to Joe, Bruce. So that.
Oh, yeah, just have Renee make a copy. We'll grab one before it goes.
All right, bids for traffic signal upgrades along Hamilton Boulevard. That also you?
That's me, and I'll take that. Just to let the board know, we currently have out to bid, due to open tomorrow, the upgraded controllers for Hamilton and Cressler and the bypass and Route 78. We are hopeful that After review of those, we'll have them on your agenda for the first September meeting for consideration. Yeah, so that's where we are with it. We'll hope we're on budget and on time.
I am a little confused.
Uh-huh.
We've already gone through over $1 million with doing 17 light upgrades. And what is this extra upgrade for?
Yeah, so it's that's a very good question. Just so we can talk about that project as well. Those other components, the township had a somewhat functioning what they would call smart traffic signal system around Hamilton Crossing and various intersections. With the Air Products site, some areas over there on Mill Creek, Grange Road area, and the bypass in Upper Macungie. As part of that was to continue the coordinated light management program. With the issues that we have with our previous vendor, including hard to get parts, proprietary, all those things, we looked at essentially getting a new coordinated system for that traffic signal area. Now, that coordinated system, as I said, was like the Crocs area, North Crocs, Hamilton, North Crocs bypass, a little bit further down towards Buckeye Building. But there were two phases of that project. One was to build out the additional intersections. The second was to go to a non-proprietary type system where cameras, recognizing tools were less proprietary, so we could use a different array and still have the system work. And the management, when we looked at it with us and Upper Macungie, was a little bit different, and we thought a better platform. So that was the original project. With that project, we also took out we took out those boxes were connected with internet capability. With the new system, we were able to get rid of the monthly internet charges for the system, as the new system runs on radio waves, radio free from tower to tower. You notice they have antennas on part of the traffic signals now. So we've linked them, instead of putting modems at various sites and expanding the modem network, we went, radio wave. So we'll see that cost savings on actual modem components. The next part that we're talking about, and that system, it's online, where it is. The company actually comes out from Colorado. They will spend a week in the field. We are slated to have them out here. I believe it's the last week of September. They'll sit and watch those intersections. They'll look at programming. They'll make adjustments. And then that will be, I don't want to say it's not live now, but it's not live until they look kind of at those programmings. So they're programmed at a rate now. They're programmed at kind of some feedback that we gave them with both upper and lower meetings. So that is that component. It will be online. The next phase, those traffic lights only go to down Hamilton to Dunkin' Donuts and Mine Site. When you get further down, the lights in that further corridor aren't coordinated. So Cressler Hamilton, Cressler bypass, bypass 78. Those have to have the updated guts, because those are, I don't want to say, those are dumb controllers that have been in there like 10 years. They were never part of the network. If you notice, they're just based on signal timing there. This upgrades the guts component to those boxes to include coordinated management systems and software, the radio equipment to go down through those boxes to get to where we have to dump into the PennDOT interface. So those, because we didn't have the budget funding for that lower part, weren't included in the original project. Now those three, we're finishing that. That will give us 78 to bypass Grange all under one purview.
And this is the stuff that we got funding from PennDOT for?
Correct. So this component, we work with through CKS, and Bowman Engineering, our traffic side for these light projects. They were able to, work through and obtain, an ARLE, Automated Red Light Enforcement, backed grant, for the upgrade, of these systems. So,
Okay, and uh, when are we gonna address things like a left turn signal on Crocs Road or on
Mill Creek. It's on
Mill Creek, yeah.
on my list for there. Not at this point. Need to get that up and functioning. And then we can look at how we can address that or change signal permits for that component.
And also with potentially changing timing of some of the stuff down on the lower part of Hamilton near the bypass and so forth.
Yeah, so when you have these meetings, when they originally look at system design, I was fortunate enough that I know absolutely a minute amount about it. So I was able to get in there, and what they do when they ask you and the programmers that are coming, right? PennDOT has a set time limit on all of the signal permits. However, this software allows you to flow that traffic communicating from site to site. So if there's a timing that's on the record, the system, which PennDOT also can see and networks, is smart enough to make adjustments down the line to manage traffic. So when you have those meetings, they actually bring us in and we identified certain areas of concern. One of them for me was, Brookside and Hamilton and the entrance to the shopping center at the bank, since I seem to frequent that every day through that pattern. The engineer from Upper also looked at that area. So they take that feedback and they put it on their list of target areas that they need to look at when they come out and do the review. So the next part of this, when I see them in the field, how they take that complaint or concern of the area and how they manage that adjustment in the computer system. So, which is going to be a part for me that I'm going to get to see. So, yeah, we'll see if that eliminates or leaves certain congestion.
Good luck. Yes, Commissioner Butler.
So you're saying that'll go down to where the Starkville Drive-in, gonna include those last
Yeah, he doesn't-
three that are not included now?
Correct.
Yes.
All the way down to.
You gotta be
actually-
careful with those references in Bruce, like he doesn't know the charcoal drive-in.
But won't that all be addressed? Project.
Topgolf.
Yeah, there's an opportunity for that if they have to make those additional corrections or changes. I don't think they're far enough yet for anything besides where we are in the intersection, even with their land development plan that we considered for their entrance for Topgolf. So yes, there will be a phase when the next time there may have to be additional build out there as they get to the next point.
And then,
Just hate to see it get all modified and be remodified again.
no, the nice part about this is that the work that's being done now for the two different signal projects, it's bringing in new, all current software, hardware, so that theoretically, certainly, if the Topgolf project does happen as we're all hoping, they will be then made to conform to what we have. And adjustments they need to make will be made in conjunction with what's recently been done. So it's not a matter of, damn, we just put this in and it's going to be torn out and replaced. The engineers at Bowman are well aware of what is coming. And I've done a lot of work with these guys in the past. They do look at current and future conditions. So I'm confident that whatever they're doing, will be easily modified for whatever comes down the road, no pun intended, with Topgolf.
Yeah, and I think the other area we need to think about too eventually, and we'll have that on the next. We're looking at some internal analysis. Is if we can get this project up and running where it needs to be, we want to look at that Route 100 corridor by Mack Trucks, both 100. Try to that wouldn't communicate, of course, with the Hamilton side, or the Brookside side. That would be, in tune with like Sauerkraut and 100, Spring Creek and 100, Willow and 100, Gaiman and 100 to try to potentially sync that corridor. And if there's grant funding, available from the state, we may be able to explore that option with Bowman Group to.
And we've seen some interest in that from the governor's office in terms of getting that
We-
done, correct?
We have that corridor, and improvements in that corridor, are a priority for the governor. And, you know, we appreciate that, the action team has been, working with us now in PennDOT to look at that corridor. So,
Only reason I ask, I know, you remember, we've
Mhm.
seen many versions.
Oh, yeah.
Probably remember the one that looked like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Cars would stop, go, and everything just flowed so nice.
Everything looks perfect on paper.
That was, two versions.
Yep.
yeah. And the problem is, you know, I can tell you on the emergency responder side, so you have something that, because where I came from had coordinated like corridors. When you have, things like traffic accidents or things that tie up, intersections, or the computer is then smart enough to realize that like traffic isn't moving. So then it tries to move all of the traffic that can't move because of the area is blocked. So then all the side streets back up because it's trying to let everything go through. So that is a frustrating part when you have that type of incident, but hopefully it alleviates some things in normal driving.
And like I always say, because traffic's the big issue, it's still not terrible. It is not. It
It's
all depends what you compare it.
Yeah, it's volume. Volume's an issue, and volume's an issue at certain parts of the day. And like I was thinking about it the other day, last night I was going from Wind Creek to my house, from my house to Wind Creek and back for this dinner. When I went the first time, because I had to go twice, I went out to Cedar Crest to get on 78. So I don't have to go out to the bypass and all that. Well, when I had to go back again at 10 o'clock last night, because I left my cell phone there, I went out to the bypass because there was nobody on it. So I knew I'd get there faster. It's about, you almost have to study and understand that there's multiple ways to get places. It always baffles me that the traffic that's still on Hamilton between Brock's and Brookside. I mean, there's very few places that you need to go in that stretch, but there's always traffic.
I just have to get to work down Brookside. So I have to sit in that
See,
occasionally.
and
I reroute. I reroute and go down the.
And
past the
PennDOT
golf
could have fixed all that if PennDOT just let us do the original design, which would have forced cars onto the bypass, but they wouldn't let it happen. And it was the best solution, but no, they didn't think that was good. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going back in time.
But then that light, going between the two parts of
Yeah.
Hamilton Crossing always slows people down trying to get to the bypass. So
Absolutely.
Still not.
No, you're right. You're right. Okay, open space debt finance ordinance.
Just an update to the board and to make sure we're good to go. We'll see that, at the first September meeting, for your consideration and, potentially passing that debt ordinance, for open space funding, looking at the amount of $10 million, to be used for the purchase, of that open space, if we find any available. So just keeping the update, we're going to have a bond rating call, probably, mid next week. I have it scheduled for. So, we'll see how the rating agencies, react to our proposal and what they think of us. So, we'll have that. That's where we are with it.
Any questions? Okay, Emmaus High School request to use Camp Olympic for cross country.
Yeah, we had a request the same request that we had last year for this. Of course, it came a little bit, late into this month, so, we had missed our board meeting and everything. I took it upon myself, unless the board's, unhappy with that, I took it upon myself. We'll issue a field use permit through the recreation department like they do everything else. Give them, that side of it for Camp Olympic. I noted from our last discussion about if they have meets there that they need to have, porta johns out there, because of the septic. And I just made an administrative decision and said, we'll schedule field requests through the school, through recreation. So unless you gentlemen, want to see those every time they come, we're just going to keep moving forward with that.
that's fine.
Sounds good to me. Okay, are there any other department reports? Yes, Vince. Which department is this for? Which one of the 7 that you're in charge of?
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get something on paper, but I'll give you, gentlemen, a quick update tonight. On a planning update, we are working through land development submissions with Brian, and his team here at CKS. We received 4 submissions prior to the submission deadline for the Planning Commission. I'm not sure if all of those will be on the agenda, but we're currently reviewing them now as we speak. We have 3 items on the zoning hearing board agenda for tomorrow night. 2 are continued and one is new to the agenda. Last week, we received 4 appeals prior to the deadline for the September meeting. Any questions on planning? Permit zoning and code. I just want to give a little snapshot here. Through eight months, we've issued 402 residential permits. Currently, right now, we have succeeded our budget number for 2024, which is good on the residential side. We've issued 107 commercial permits. We're projecting we're going to hit our number on the commercial side. We've issued 167 zoning permits through August. And again, I think, with that number, we're still projecting we're going to hit our budget numbers there. As far as the code complaints go, we processed 224 complaints. That was through last week. These complaints typically include property maintenance, stormwater complaints. All the complaints, I will give my team kudos to this. All the complaints so far for 2024 have been handled through door tags, vehicle tags, most personal contact. Some violation letters, not many, but we have not taken one property maintenance complaint in front of the magistrate. So we have not had to take legal action on that. So saves us a little bit on our attorney's fees there. We don't have to go down to the magistrate.
Right, don't worry, Bruce, he takes care of that on.
Last thing I want to give you an update on is our fire and life safety program. So far in 2024, the inspections we have is totaled so far is 57. 24 of those have been completed. 33 are in various stages of progressing through the inspection process, whether they need to follow up with data or reports for Dev to finish out. Just as a comparison, in 2023, the inspections totaled 178. But typically, we'll have a little more on an odd year. That's just how we inherited that from our third party prior to bringing it back in-house. So we're trying to even that out a little bit. We are talking about bringing educational occupancies to an annual inspection. The ordinance does give us that ability. So we're talking about that right now. So you'll probably see adjusted fee schedule coming in 25 to handle those couple annual inspections. I think this is one of the most beneficial programs we have here to the townships, residents and business owners, and particularly our visitors. And it gives our code official. I don't get out as much with Dev, but Dev does a great job for us on that educational portion. It's really more educational when he gets out there and helps us not, I should say, downtick those violations coming into the next cycle. So, that's what we have going on. That's it. So,
Well, and just an update too on staffing and our staffing plan. We have been in the process of seeking applications for a zoning officer and a planner. Vince and I are, happy to announce that we have a offer letter out that's been accepted by an individual to fill the role of the zoning position. So we're still actively recruiting on the planner side, but we should see within the next about 4 weeks onboarding of that new position. So as much as we appreciate Vince putting that hat on, I always tell him I need him to have some free time to help lead the department over there and get us to our next level. So just, wanted the board to be aware of where we are. So.
Any questions? All right. Any other department reports?
I can give a couple quick project updates if you want. Hillside School, you may notice the walking paths completed down to some punch list items that CCAS will be looking to have addressed. We heard about the playground projects, the Spring Creek MS4 project should start week of September 2nd. Completion around mid-October. There's a lot of plannings there. They don't want to plan them too soon. The Brookside Swale project over here in process still. I just signed the contract documents, so we'll be able to get a pre-construction meeting scheduled on that end. Same with the Hills of Lockridge and that basin naturalization and those concrete end walls. So projects continue to move for the MS4. The Musco Light project for pickleball court here and Hills of Lockridge. We're moving forward. We do have to take the ones back here. They're proposing another 40-foot back here tower reach. So we're going to put an application in for the zoning hearing board in September. We think that there'll still be time to get that done. So elevator, we're still waiting to coordinate our facility engineer Dewey Group with elevator vendor and the other gentleman we have working on elevators from VDA to see where we're at with that. So that's going to round out a lot of the projects we had for the year. We're preparing all the other projects, to be ready to kind of go out to bid, including sewer lining, Gun Club Road Bridge to go out, and we'll have those numbers in November so that we can award and we can hit the ground running for 25. So that's where we are, unless there's any questions on any of those things.
Questions for the manager? Yes, Commissioner Bite.
One in the back.
Pickleball lights. So we had put that in the budget, and yeah, we instead of 25, they're recommending to go to 40, and that puts us over our allotment. So same thing that we had to do at Hills of Lockridge. They're saying it's better for that smaller space for their LED light pattern now. So
Yeah. So just as an accord, we are looking to get some information from a lighting company to modify our ordinance now to up to the newer standards. Hopefully we don't have to go through this or other people either.
Anything else, Mr. Vital? All right. Well, with that, we are adjourned. Are they?